Do you enjoy theater?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really talented. I've gone to Clarence Brown Theater a few times, and I think it's insanely talented what they do and what they can do. And it's entertaining. It's like a movie live, and it's really cool.
I wasn't much of a theater kid in high school, but I know a friend of mine who is.
Yeah. Not really, but it's okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Do you have a favorite Shakespeare play, or do you know of any?
I forgot. There was like Othello, something like that. I forgot the name.
Romeo and Juliet. Tell me that's Shakespeare.
Yes.
Yes. I'll rock with that one. I at least read that one.
Probably just Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my gosh. I can't think of one right now.
Is Hamlet one?
I think so.
Then yeah, Hamlet. I watched Grease one time, but
Do you know about Richard II?
I do not.
I do not.
No.
Have you heard of the Mabry Hazen House?
I have not.
Nope, I have not. No?
No, I'm not.
Welcome back to Vol Talk. I'm your host, Ali La Rosa. It's our Vol Talk season finale. Today, we're joined by John Simmons from the Tennessee Stage Company. He's here to talk about the new show, Shakespeare on the Hill. The show opens this Thursday, and he'll be one of the many actors performing Richard II. John, thanks for being here.
Ali, thank you for having me.
Of course. So the first question is, what is the Mabry Hazen House?
So the Mabry Hazen House is a historic home here in Knoxville. It was built, the construction began before the Civil War, and it was built by Joseph Mabry II, a big proponent and a big donor and a businessman here in town, as a testament to his wealth and his belief in the town itself. He was actually the one who donated the land that Market Square would end up being built on. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, big ups to him for that.
Big guy in town.
Big guy in
Big
town.
name.
Big name.
So the Tennessee Stage Company is one of the oldest active stage companies in Knoxville. What kind of productions do you usually perform there?
So Tennessee Shakespeare is our biggest ongoing production that we do there. Shakespeare on the Hill is one of our newest additions to the project. We've recently done productions in Iams Nature Center. We've previously done works in Market Square. If you've ever seen Shakespeare in the Square, that is us. Shakespeare on the Hill is the next continuation of our dedication to Shakespeare. We have other projects ongoing, new play festivals. We do a lot of digital performances. We collaborate with a lot of local talent for producing new plays. So Shakespeare is one of our bigger ones, though.
So what can people expect for Shakespeare on the Hill?
So Shakespeare on the Hill is going to be a very faithful adaptation of Richard II. We're doing period clothing. We're doing it all, of course, at the actual antebellum house. So the set is going to be outside where people can watch from the lawn. They're going to see a lot of very intense acting. It's a very serious, intense show. It's the only play that Shakespeare wrote that is entirely in verse. So you're going to get a lot of very formal speech, a lot of very heightened emotion that comes from speaking basically in poetry. The entire show's in poetry.
Right.
So it's a very heightened show. A lot of big characters there. A lot of actors portraying those big characters in large and outlandish ways. It's going to be a really great time. I really think so.
So what made you want to pick Richard II?
Richard II is a show that I know the company has wanted to do for a very long time. In all of its years, it's never actually produced it. And as far as we know, we've looked back to, at least back until the 1910s in Knoxville, that it's never been produced in East Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
We could not find that this show had been done. It's one of our founder and our director, Tom Parkhill's. It's one of his favorite history shows, our history plays. So the fact that it hadn't been done yet by not just us, but by anyone in East Tennessee was extremely anomalous. And so we wanted to do it justice this season.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So the Mabry Hazen House has a lot of history with Shakespeare. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, yeah. So it is a historic home that's been converted into a museum, but before it was still owned and lived in by the family. The last living member to live in the house was a woman by the name of Evelyn Hazen, a very interesting, bold, and very strong woman from Knoxville. And she was a huge Shakespeare fan. We actually still have her collection, her complete works of Shakespeare. that she read and annotated in herself, and she has a lot to say about Richard II. A lot of very interesting, insightful things that she's taken. Also, a very interesting lady to look into the history of. Miss Evelyn Hazen has a bit of a scrupulous past. And I won't get it too far into it, but let's just say that it was a pretty big scandal for the 20th century. The events leading up to Miss Evelyn Hazen making it into the history books.
Well, I won't ask any questions about her.
And we won't talk too much about it.
So for the production, where
Yes.
can people get the tickets?
So tickets can be purchased through the Mabry Hazen House Facebook page. They'll take you to the site where tickets can be bought. We open up this Thursday, the 4th of May, and we do 2 weekends. So it's going to be the 4th through the 7th, and then the next weekend until the 14th. And those 2 Sundays are both going to be matinee shows early in the afternoon.
Also Star Wars Day, so it's easy to remember.
Also Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
Yes, exactly. So what other productions can we look forward to coming to theater?
Sure. This summer, Tennessee Shakespeare and Tennessee Stage Company are planning on 2 productions for Shakespeare. Our comedy is going to be, well, we're actually putting on 2 comedies. It's a bit of a rare form for us. So a Shakespeare comedy that we're putting on is going to be The Taming of the Shrew.
Okay.
If anyone's familiar, it is considered to be a problem play. It has some rather interesting themes, a lot of really great comedy. It deals with love and obedience and the dynamic between men and women, and a lot of things that follow from that, from the 17th century's perspective on those things. So a few things are sometimes feel like lost in translation, but it is a play that we think is worth doing because we think that the message is important. So that's one of the shows that we're doing. The other one we're doing is actually The Complete Works of Shakespeare, which is a satirical production that was written not by Shakespeare, but it does in a humorous fashion. It's a 3-man show, and in a humorous fashion, it goes through every single play that Shakespeare ever wrote very quickly. And so it tries to cover all of the basics there. You get a lot of really great humor. We've produced it, I believe, at least 2 times before, so this will be at least the 3rd time that the company has produced it. And it's a hysterical show. I'm very, very excited for that one.
Definitely got to check that out. That sounds
yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah.
So as an actor, do you have any steps that you take to get into the role, or any regimen or
Sure.
process?
Sure. Yeah, we get asked all the time, how do you remember all those words? When you're up there, you're not allowed to, scan it really quickly in your trailer and then go to set. You have to have everything memorized before you go out on stage every night. And that's honestly one of the easier parts for at least me, getting the script out of my hand and learning the lines so that I can begin to actually explore the scene unfiltered and unimpeded by having something necessarily in my hand is the biggest part for me. So getting the lines out of the way is usually no problem. It then comes down to actually living authentically the character that you're supposed to portray. It's not just about saying things, it's about feeling them, finding where the motivation comes from. And this is all very high concept actor way of saying you don't want to be the guy who looks like he learned the lines the night before.
Right.
You want to feel extremely confident. You want to trick people in the house to think that guy is the Duke of Hereford. That guy is is King Richard of Bordeaux. You want them to see that character in you. You want to be the avatar for that character. So that's the process, really. So
what has your strategy been with King Richard?
So in King Richard, I play Henry of Hereford. I play Henry Bolingbroke. He has a lot of titles. Basically, I play the bad guy. If you know historically, Henry eventually becomes Henry IV, King Henry IV. And not to spoil the play, but I become King Henry IV throughout the play. So my character is the usurper king. He's the one who deposes the titular Richard II and takes over. So in order to get into the mindset of that devious man, I really had to both look at it from a historical and a theatrical aspect. There are things that literally did happen that Henry did, and then there's things that Shakespeare wrote about. They don't always mesh, and you typically want to go more with what the play says while keeping in mind the history stuff. And the play says that I'm kind of a murderous psycho to a bit of an extent. I have a lot of people, killed in the show.
Yeah.
And it's a bloody coup that happens, and a lot of people have to die. And boy howdy, it's not an enviable task to try to portray that also as a sympathetic person who has their own struggles and goals and things they want to accomplish.
Right.
It's once you get over the terror of portraying that kind of person, it can actually be a little bit of fun.
Mm-hmm. So when you're not working with the Mabry Hazen House, where can we see the Tennessee Stage Company?
Sure. We do productions all over. We've done shows at Theater Knoxville downtown. We do digital performances. We'll do readings all over the place. We'll do shows again at I Am Nature Center. We have a really nice relationship with them. They let us do a lot of really nice Shakespeare stuff there, including what we'll be doing this summer. We don't have a definitive location, but if you follow closely on the Tennessee Stage Company Facebook page, you'll see all the different places we're popping up in. You'll see us all over the place.
Perfect. We'll have people definitely check that out.
Thank you.
So in theater,
Yes.
I know the word that you can't say is Macbeth.
Ah.
Has there been any accidental or almost accidental wording, like people have said the word?
Sure. We've had a few close encounters, people.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you talk Shakespeare, eventually the Scottish play, which is one thing that we call it, comes up. You really don't want to say it. There's tons of different reasons and tons of different remedies, but ultimately what it comes down to is if you say it, people are going to be mad at you.
Yeah.
And even if you don't believe in the superstition, you don't want to make people mad. And so taking it from like a more courteous aspect as opposed to a more superstitious aspect is how I tend to view it. It's just not socially acceptable to say the name of the Scottish play in a theater. We've had a few people we catch them. If they do say it, you have them do whatever ritual is that the first person comes up with. Sometimes it's run around the building, sometimes it's spit over your shoulder. It's like an old-fashioned swear word, It's offensive to the sensibilities of actors.
If I was that actor, I would not want to come back the next day.
No, you'd be the guy who had to go run around the building because you said the one thing you're not supposed to say.
Right.
It's embarrassing. It's deeply embarrassing.
So speaking of rituals or seance,
Yes.
the Victorian-styled seance, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So every October, the Mabry Hazen House hosts a Victorian-style seance, like you said. In it, we have actors come in and recreate what the stylings, essentially, of what a seance would have been in the late 19th, early 20th century. We've done a lot of research. Patrick Hollis, who is the resident historian there, has done a lot of research into the practices, the techniques, the history of everything that goes into making a seance happen. It's not all smoke and mirrors. A lot of it has to do with the actual genuine beliefs of the spiritualist movement, which was a huge movement, especially for women in America at the time, because so much of the agency and so many of the leaders and the leadership in the spiritualist movement were women who were finally able to get a platform to talk about things like women's suffrage and women's rights. So it's a very powerful period of history that we really try to represent in our reenactment. So we're not just making cups levitate. We're talking about the given circumstances, as we like to say as actors. What was happening at the time? What are these old-timey people actually dealing with to make them feel empowered by going out and talking to ghosts? It's a really great experience, and it'll be happening late this October at the Mabry Hazen House. So definitely worth checking out. Highly recommended.
So even though these plays were written 100 years ago and things like that, do you think that some of the themes are relevant to today? Or like when you're bringing that character to life, you're like, oh wow, that's actually very relevant now?
Sure. I mean, like they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The language might feel a little outdated, but when you actually look down, when you look at the text and you're reading it, and you're seeing what's being said, it's speaking to the human condition. We're not all going to be dukes and lords and what have you, but we all know what it's like to feel betrayed. We all know what it's like to put your trust in a system that fails you. We all know what it's like to question yourself whether or not what you're doing is the right thing to do, whether or not the disruption that you're causing is a moral good or an ethical good. Are you, by doing what you're doing, setting people on the correct course of history? There's consequences to every action, and we don't always see the light at the end of the tunnel when we enter into it. We just have to hope that it eventually leads to where we think we're going. And you see a lot of that, especially in this play, with all the themes in that. We have, a king being deposed. We have, which is essentially a person losing what they've been looking at their entire life. Their entire foundation of their existence is just built on the rock that God puts you in the throne to be there. And what it does to someone who is told, actually, that's a lie. It's a crisis of faith. It's issues with internal recognition of the self. It's who can I trust? Can the loved one, have I brought harm to the loved ones in my life by my hubris? It's a lot of really good stuff. And again, it's all old-timey speak of these and thous, but at the end of the day, it's still us.
That's a beautiful way of saying it. I couldn't have said that any better.
Thank you.
It is fun
Thank you
to
so
say
much.
art thou and all those things, but behind all those silly words or poetic words, there's deep meaning and
Exactly.
true themes.
Exactly. Right on, man.
Right.
Right on.
So we have a recorded practice that we're about to show. Before we show it, could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. This is the pivotal scene. I would say that this is very near to the climax of the play. So once again, I'm the usurper. I am Henry Bolingbroke. I basically am about to get everything that I want. I've been told that the king is willing to resign. He's going to hand over his crown and everything's going to be great. But what I don't really anticipate is the theatrics that come from asking the guy who's been king all of his life to hand over what is ostensibly the physical manifestation of his entire soul. And so you see a lot of bearing of emotions and bearing of the soul that happens from Richard II, who's played by the spectacular Rain Palmer, a great, fantastic local actress who I've had the pleasure of working with for going on 6 years. She does a spectacular job of just portraying the kind of heartbreak that happens when someone has to go through that, and the kind of toil that it puts on my character, who is the next king, but also his cousin. This is someone that I've grown up with and have kind of had a chip on my shoulder about my whole life, and I'm finally about to get everything that I want, and I'm just seeing him break down, and it's really heartbreaking. I think it's a really fantastic scene to showcase the heart of the show.
Right. So my last question for you is, what is your favorite part of being an actor?
My favorite part of being an actor is usually thinking about it after the fact. It's so really hard to see the forest from the trees when you're doing a show, a stage show. And it's really not until you've wrapped and the set's been broken down and you've had some time to digest on it that you're able to really think about what you've done and the things that you've accomplished. You'll talk to people who say, I went and saw that show, it was incredible, I saw you did this, this, and this, and then it'll be an entirely new layer to the cake that they add on top, and then you've got this nostalgic feeling for it. And then you also have that period where you're just longing to do it again, I wish it wasn't over. So I think it's almost like the thinking about acting after the fact, the digestion after a show is one of my favorite parts.
It's great.
Why my sin called to a king before I shook off the regal thoughts wherewith I reigned? I hardly yet have learned to insinuate, flatter, bow, and bend my limbs. Give sorrow leave a while to tutor me to this submission. But I well remember the favors of these men. Were they not mine? Did they not sometime cry, all hail to me? So Judas said to Christ, but he in 12 found truth in all but one. I in 12,000 none. God save the king! Will no man say amen? Am I both priest and clerk? Well then, amen. God save the king! although I be not he. And yet, amen, if heaven do think him me. To do what service am I sent for hither?
To do that office of thine own good will, the resignation of thy state and crown to Henry Bolingbroke.
Give me the crown. Here, cousin. Seize the crown. Here, cousin. On this side, my hand. And on that side, yours. Now is this golden crown like a deep well that owes two buckets filling one another. The emptier ever dancing in the air, the other down, unseen and full of water. That bucket down and full of tears am I, drinking my griefs whilst you mount up on high.
I thought you had been willing to resign.
My crown I am, but still my griefs are mine. You may my glories and my state depose, but not my griefs. Still am I king of those.
Part of your cares you give me with your crown.
Your care set up, do not pluck my cares down. My care is loss of care, by old care done. Your care is gain of care, by new care won. The care I give I have, though given away. They tend the crown, yet still with me they stay.
Are you contented to resign the crown?
I? No. No! I. For I must no thing be, therefore. No. For I resign to thee. Now mark me, how I will undo myself. I give this heavy weight from off my head, and this unwieldy scepter from my hand, the pride of kingly sway from out my heart. With mine own tears I wash away my balm. With mine own hands I give away my crown. With mine own tongue deny my sacred state. A pomp and majesty do I forswear. God pardon all oaths that are broke to me. God keep all vows unbroke that swear to thee. Long mayst thou live in Richard's seat to sit, and soon lie Richard in an earthly pit. God save King Harry. Unkinged Richard says, and sent him many years of sunshine days. What more remains?
No more! But that you read these accusations and these grievous crimes committed by your person and your followers against the state and profit of this land, that by confessing them, the souls of men may deem that you are worthily deposed.
Must I do so? Must I ravel out my leaved up fall agent to Northumberland? If thy offences were upon record, would it not shame thee, and so fair a troop to read a lecture on them? If thou wouldst, there shouldst thou find one heinous article containing the deposing of a king, marked with a blot, damned in the book of heaven. Nay, all of you that stand and look upon whatsoever my wretchedness doth bait myself. There's some of you with Pilate. Wash your hands, showing an outward pity. But you Pilates, if you brought me to my sour cross, water cannot wash away your sin.
My lord, dispatch, read o'er these articles.
Oh, mine eyes are full of tears. I cannot read.
My lord!
No one of thine, know what? Insulting man, I'm no man's lord! I have no name, no title, no, not that name was given me at the font, but 'tis usurped. Alack, the happy day that I have worn so many winters out, and know not now what name to call myself. Good king, great king, and yet not greatly good. And if my word be sterling yet in England, let it command a mirror, hither straight.
Go! Some of you, fetch a looking glass!
Read o'er this paper while the glass doth come.
Fiend, thou torment me ere I come to hell.
Urge it no more, my Northumberland!
The commons will not then be
I
satisfied.
shall be satisfied. I'll read enough when I do see the very book indeed, where all my sins are writ. And that's myself. Give me the glass. Therein will I read. No deeper wrinkles yet. Sorrow struck so many blows upon this face and left no deeper wounds. Was this face the face that every day under his household roof did keep 10,000 men? Was this the face that faced so many follies, and was at last outfaced by Bolingbroke? A brittle glory shineth in the face. As brittle as the glory is the face. There it is, cracked in 100 shivers. Mark, silent king, the moral of my sport. How soon my sorrow hath destroyed my face.
The shadow of your sorrow hath destroyed the shadow of your face.
Say that again. The shadow of my sorrow. Ah, yes, it is very true. My griefs lie all within, and these external manners of lament are but shadows to the unseen grief that swells with silence in the tortured soul. There lies the substance. And I thank thee, King, for thy great bounty, that not only givest me cause to wail, but teachest me the way how to lament the cause. I'll beg one boon and then be gone, and trouble you no more shall I obtain it.
Name it, good cousin, you shall.
And give me leave to go.
Whither?
Whither you will. So I were from your sight.
Go! Some of you! Convey him to the tower!
Oh, good. Convey! Conveyors are you all that rise thus nimbly by a true king's fall.
On Wednesday next, we'll solemnly set down our coronation. Lords! Prepare yourselves.
That's all the time we have today. A big thank you to John for being here. Vol Talk will be back this fall. Until then, thanks for watching.